Now, Chapter 13 deals, we're going to talk about listing agreements, buyer agency agreements, the brokerage operations. We're talking about different laws and stuff. Now, I told you on the state exam, you're going to have 150 questions, but 45 questions is on Chapter 16 and 11 and 13. So again, things I talked about in Chapter 11 is going to repeat it in Chapter 16. A lot of things I'm going to talk about this evening in Chapter 13 will also be repeated in Chapter 16 as well. Now, real estate brokerage operations. You don't even have to highlight it, but a brokerage business can take on many different forms. For example, it's depending how the sponsoring broker wants to set up the business. They could be part of a national franchise like a Remax or Coldwell Banker or Berkshire Hathaway, Century 21. They could be an independent like a KO or Sergio and Banks. They could be a one-man show if they want, sole proprietorship. They can have a smaller office with 20, 30 agents, a medium-sized office with 50, 60 agents, or a mega office having over 100 agents. They could be located in an office building. They could be located in a shopping center, in a neighborhood, in a storefront. Again, it's all up to the sponsoring broker. They can have affinity relationships, working with attorneys and lenders and home inspectors. Again, it's all up to the sponsoring broker how they want to set things up. Now, that next paragraph, there is a lot of things involved, handling the day-to-day details of running the business and setting up policy for a brokerage operation. Now, virtual brokerage offices. Now that's becoming a lot more popular because of the stuff with the phones and the internet, that you don't have to come to the actual office. A lot of people are doing this, working just off their mobile devices and sending information out to their clients. It's so much easier. Question I have, what the important chapters again at the end? They're all important. There's no shortcut in that. If you want me to tell you which chapters are important, they all are important. I'm just saying that you have 105 questions on chapters 1 through 15. You have 45 questions primarily from chapter 16. You have 45 questions, chapter 16, 11, and 13, which deals with the Illinois law portion. There's no shortcuts, I'm sorry to say. You're welcome in that. You're quite welcome. So again, there's a lot of people just do everything, through their mobile devices and I guess they get their quick results and stuff like that. Every office is different. It's up to them, but there are a lot of people doing more and more of that. People are now, the generation of today, they're very, very demanding as response time. They want instant report, instant. I think it's rude sometimes. Here's what they do. You got to sign in front of the property. They pull up with their clients. The other agent will pull up with the clients and says, I'm in front of the house right now. I want to see it now. You know what? That's not fair to the owners. They might be in the middle of dinner. Maybe someone's sick. Maybe the spouse has had an argument. No, you got to respect people's time. So, there were lenders that were saying that we could close a transaction, get approval, and close in 7 days. Problem is, sellers can't get out in 7 days. They're doing all this thing, get it done now. Now they just don't have any patience for anything. Doesn't always, it's not always a advantage. Some people might think. Now, the next paragraph where it says in Illinois, you can highlight, put X by that. Every real estate office must have a sponsoring broker or a designated managing broker of record, which is identified with IDFPR, who is responsible for the day-to-day operations of that office. Now, in order to become a sponsoring broker or designated managing broker, you must have a managing broker's license. So, now, The designated managing broker and the sponsoring broker is responsible for every single agent in that office. Let's say there's the owner of my company, Jeff, he owns a company, I'm the designated managing broker. I have 185 agents in my office. That's how big my office is. One of my agents does something wrong. Not only could the agent lose their license, but me, as a designated managing broker, could lose a license. Jeff, the owner, could lose a license as a sponsoring broker, because we are responsible for every single agent, for everything that they do. Whether or not we even knew they did anything wrong, we are still responsible for that. So some of the responsibilities, those 3 bullets, you could go over those on your own. So now, sponsoring broker. Sponsoring broker is the person that owns the office. Now, the sponsoring broker could be the designated managing broker if they want as well. They can form a corporation partnership. It's up to them how they want to set up their own business. Designated managing brokers, responsibility and supervision. Those next 3 paragraphs you can highlight, put X's by. Designated managing broker is the one identified with IDFPR, shall be responsible for supervision of all licensees associated with that designated managing broker's office, which includes implementation of company policies, training of licensees. I don't know what else. I put this together and I can't remember all of it. Provide assistance, understanding, make sure they understand contracts, things like that. So, couple paragraphs down, designated managing broker has to take additional courses because you need a managing broker's license. They are responsible for record keeping, those bullets underneath on top of the next page, maintenance of employment agreements and escrow monies if they're maintained by that office. Now, sponsored licensees. We don't use the term salesperson here in Illinois. That is common throughout the United States, but salesperson has been replaced by broker, and broker has been replaced by what we call managing broker. That's all. So you might see the word salesperson on the national part because that's what they use in most of the country. Now, you got to highlight that paragraph, independent contractor versus employees. Now, we're talking about the brokers that work for the sponsoring broker. They can work as independent contractor or employees. Now, independent contractor doesn't mean you can do whatever you want. It's how you get paid. It's how you get paid. So let's say you're an independent contractor, and let's say that, let me just say this. The percent of licensed agents in this United States that work, I would say more than 99.99% of all licensed agents work as independent contractors. And what that means, you sell property, you earn a $6,000 commission. Your sponsoring broker will give you a check for $6,000. You are responsible for paying your federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, health care. You're responsible for paying that. If you're an employee, which I heard of them, but don't know of anyone, then they withhold the taxes and they give you a W-2 at the end of the year. 1099, you get a 1099 of your independent contractor. So it just depends on how you get paid. As I said, almost everyone gets paid as an independent contractor. I got a question. What is a sponsoring broker? Sponsoring broker is the person that owns the office. That's the sponsoring broker, the owner of the company. And what is a salesperson used for? Well, a salesperson throughout the United States, except for Illinois, has the same capacity as a broker here in Illinois. A salesperson outside of Illinois for any of the other states that have license laws, which they all do, they could sell, list, and lease any type of property. But a salesperson must work for a what they call a broker or a sponsoring broker in that state. So a broker here in Illinois is considered a salesperson everywhere else. A a sponsoring, a managing broker's license here in Illinois is like a broker's license everywhere else in this country. So on a test, they could be salesperson or brokers, right? Illinois, they're brokers. On a national part, they're salesperson. They're same thing. Okay. Because just in case you see that, I want you to be aware of it. Now, here it goes, independent contractor employees. They tell you the difference right there. You could go over that. And let's go on to the next page. Teams. Let's talk about teams of brokers. Now, new laws that talk about teams. Sometimes within a company, you have people that work together and they work as a team, which is fine. They could split up their commission. They have to have something in writing. I have a couple teams in my office. Now, anyone that works as a team, like I have two agents or sisters, they work together as a team. I got a husband and wife that works at a team, and they could call themselves team, but they have to still advertise under the sponsoring broker's name. Now, one thing, and this is new law that just recently passed. So sometimes new laws that recently passed, sometimes they take a year or so to get into the state exam, but there was a big problem with teams. Some big company. They had hundreds of agents working as teams, and they never identified themselves with the sponsoring broker. This happened last March. And no, this March. It was this year in March. And IDFPR really screwed up, and they should never have been relicensed. Lawyers came in there, guy that owns a multi-millionaire. I mean, probably has, if not tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, brought the lawyers in there, got his license reinstated. Shouldn't have happened, shouldn't have not happened. So they screwed up. So that's why you might see this on a state exam, because they really screwed up on this. The main thing I want you to know, teams can work together, but they have to still advertise under their sponsoring brokers' names. Now, if you work as a team, say you and I are a team, we call it, whatever it is, the Sam Zakarian team. Words that you cannot use, and I want you to be familiar with them, so like it a highlight, maybe even X them off. What they cannot put, I cannot put like Sam Zakarian Company or Sam Zakarian Realty, Real Estate Agency, Associates, Broker, Property, or Properties. Cannot. Now, here's something that's important. If ad content or team name includes the word team after verboten words, the team should be allowed. The size of the licensee or name cannot be larger than that of the sponsoring broker. Now, until this thing happened, you could advertise, if I put in an ad, whether you pay for it or not, the broker's business name has to be the same size as the agent's name or the team name, or larger. Used to be that the agent's name could have been this big, covering the whole billboard, and the broker's business name could have been one fine line. Not anymore. And advertising includes your business cards and anything that you put up. The broker's business name must be at the same size or larger than the agent's name. Here's an example. I forgot we did this already. So you see the content, ABC Real Estate and Sam's Team. Okay, you cannot have Sam's Team. I forgot I put that in there. So the first time I saw it, actually, since I wrote this up. So company logo is not part of the company legal name. The company name has to be big or bigger in font size, area, width, and height as the team name. Also on the websites too. So, now, designate a managing broker's responsibility. You can highlight, put an X by that one. Now, designate a managing broker as supervisory responsible for all licensees in one office, or it could be more than one office, long as for the same sponsoring broker. Like I cannot be a designated managing broker for my sponsoring broker here at Century 21 and also be at a Coldwell Banker office. I cannot. It has to be the same sponsoring broker. I have a question here. The information that you are sharing with us now is not in the 7th edition. That is correct. It was something that just recently passed. I mean, August this happened. So, okay. Under the team brokers, I don't know. I am covering everything that you do need to know. And Latricia and Cole, I want all of you to know I'm not going to leave anything out. So let me go back and you can take a shot of this. Because this is the first time I saw it myself. Actually, I wrote up all these new law changes. I did not, because I researched and I had to make sure, but I wanted to make sure that I was all completely up to date. So here we go, team of brokers. So I'd like you to take a shot of that. As I said, most of the time, any new law changes takes about a year before it hits the state exam. But because of the problems they encountered earlier this year, there was 4 changes in the last 12 months, major changes to the law. Most everything has been updated. I am aware of it. I saw the videos. I went to conferences. I got all the updates. I did all the research, and I include everything in here. So make sure you have this. And another example, at the bottom of 259, the size routine name cannot be larger than that of the sponsoring broker's name. URL domain names cannot be deceptive, cannot drive traffic, and the one-click away rule. Let me explain the one-click away. This is a new law too. Now, let's say you have a website, and the one-click rule is this. Because you're advertising a home, and all the information about that home's on that first page of your website. The very next click, they can't go to another property until they see the company's name. That's what the one-click rule is. Okay, that's what I want you to know. They can't be on page 8 of your website, the one-click rule. So I like I says, I updated everything, and so please, I will make sure that you're up to date with everything as well. So the changes between the 7th and the 8th edition are very, very few, but I will make sure that you are up to date with them, 100% guaranteed. So maintenance of license, you can highlight that. Sponsoring brokers are required to notify IDFPR in writing the names of the license numbers of all designated managing brokers employed by that sponsoring broker. Now, unexpected loss of a designated managing broker. First 2 lines highlight and put an X by. If a sponsoring broker or designated managing broker dies or quits, IDFPR must be notified within 15 days. Don't worry, that usually shows up on the state exam, but it is going to be repeated at least a couple more times. Okay, renewals. When designated managing broker receives a renewal application from IDFPR, then they must notify the licensees of the receipt in person within 7 days by registered or certified mail. That you probably will not see. Now, on this next page, second paragraph, put an X by that. Change of business address. Now, any change at all, change of name, change of your email, change of your address, change of the business office, IDFPR must be notified of all changes within 24 hours. 24 hours. Again, I'm going to talk more about this when we get into Chapter 16, when we cover Illinois law. Advertising. All designated managing brokers, licensees who are named as designated managing brokers with the division must indicate the status on all their advertising, on their email, and everything else as well. designated managing broker supervises all brokers and also unlicensed personal assistants working in that office. And these are some of their responsibilities. You can highlight these bullets. You can go over those on your own. Now, termination of sponsorship. Now, if a licensee decides they want to quit working with their sponsoring broker, that licensee goes to the website, IDFPR website, and they terminate their own license. They don't need their permission of their sponsoring brokers. Now, what they do, IDFPR will notify that sponsoring broker within 24 hours of that termination. Now, once a licensee terminates their sponsorship, they cannot sell real estate. Their license is inactive until they find a new sponsoring broker. I'm going to repeat that for you. Just told by us by chat. Oh, you're able to access the 8th edition on your dashboard. Okay. All right. I did not know that. I don't know who told you that. Maybe Scott or someone. I don't know, but that's good. That's good. So you'll be able to have it. But I am covering everything for you. It was Scott. Oh, he sneaked in and he's listening. That's good. That's good. All right. So what I want to repeat this. I want you to know this. This is another law change. So you decide you want to quit your termination. You want to terminate your license with your sponsoring broker. Once you do so, IDFPR will notify your sponsoring broker. Now, your license at that point is considered inactive, which even though you're licensed, you cannot sell real estate until you find a new sponsoring broker that hires you and they issue you your new license, or you get your new license from IDFPR. Now, if a licensee is simply changing brokers, the sponsoring broker sends the original endorsed license from the previous sponsoring broker within 24 hours. That's if they terminate them. So actually, they go online to terminate them, the current sponsoring broker, and then IDFPR would notify. Oh, you sent him a chat. Okay, I thought sometimes he likes to listen in, which is fine. I have no problem with that. So, but or anyone that wants to. So the sponsoring broker decides to terminate you. They just go online and terminate you. IDFPR will notify them notify you within 24 hours. Okay. Now, planning. I like you to highlight this. I like to be a little bit familiar with this. Here's what I want to say. Most real estate agents will spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than their entire real estate career. I think it's so important. I do goal setting, and I do it twice a year. I do it towards the end of the year, and I do it in the middle of the year to see where they're at. Because this year, guess what? A lot of goals that they set in November and December changed quite a bit because of COVID. So you had to readjust your goals, and that's what goals are there for, to readjust them. So, but you should have a business plan and how much money you want to make, and to achieve that, I usually go through that with them. You tell me a dollar amount, how much you want to make, and I'll tell you how many contacts you have to make. I'll tell you how many appointments you need to go on. I'll tell you how many contracts you have to write up. I'll tell you how many contracts will fall through. I will do this. That's what I do. So now, the mission statement identifies objectives and goals. Goals must be specific, must be identifiable, must be measured, must be attainable, must have a beginning and end dates. They use the acronym. There's an acronym SMART for that. I just want to tell you, I think goals are very, very important to write down your goals so you can look at them. I have my agents, what I do, I have them put their goals on a clear sheet of paper, in one of those sheet protectors. I have them attach it to their car keys, so they have it all with them all the time. But what if I'm driving clients around and they look at it and they ask them, what is that? You tell them that's your goal. I don't care what your goal is. You want to buy a home, you want to make so much money, you want to go on a vacation, whatever you want to do, that's your goal. And it should be written down because here's something, fact, Harvard Business School, college, and this was the class of 1988, I think. What they did is they asked them, they went through every single uh, student that graduated if they had goals. 87% had goals. 87% had goals. Then they asked that 87% how many of them had written goals, and 13% had goals written down. They came back 20 years later, contacted every single one of that graduating class, and here's what they found out. The 87% of people that had goals, about 5% achieved their goals. Of the 13% that had written goals, 100% of them achieved their goals. 100%. If you have them in writing, you have to look at them. I'm going to suggest something to you. There's a video. It's about 60 minutes. It's by Lou Holtz. Lou Holtz was the coach of Notre Dame. He actually coached for New York Jets. He set for himself. Here's a guy. You got to really look this up, Lou Holtz, and watch his video. Very, very entertaining. I met the guy a couple of times. Very, very interesting man. Very interesting guy. When he was younger, he set goals for himself. He set 106 goals that he wanted to accomplish. He wanted to play football. He was a skinny kid, 150 pounds, wore glasses, had a lisp, and he wanted to play football. Man, he got knocked down so many times, but what he did, he learned every single position on a team, and he did play football. His goal was to coach Notre Dame. His goal was to be a coach for NFL. His goal was to meet the president of the United States at the White House. He has achieved 103 of his 106 goals that he wrote down when he was very young. He achieved 103. He's still working on it. Very interesting guy. So if you get a chance, just Google this guy, Lou Holtz. I forgot what it's called. It's called, I think it might be called goal setting or success. Someone has something, might be on there. Someone just said, having a degree in business and working as a project manager, having goals and a plan is critical to success. Absolutely right. But look up this Lou Holtz. It's very, very interesting what he's done, And I just love the guy. What a nice guy, too. So now, preparing a policy and procedure manual. Well, it is a requirement that every office must have a policy and procedure manual. It must be in writing, and every agent should be able to have access to it. And so they know exactly what their responsibilities are. Designated managing brokers are responsible for overseeing new brokers, making sure they get the proper training and stuff like this. This is new, so this will be in the 8th edition that you could download. Policy and procedures are extremely beneficial for the following reasons: establishing a clear understanding of the relationship between the broker and the sponsor licensee. It should be between the sponsoring broker and the sponsored licensee. Working to resolve conflicts before they come up, building confidence that everyone knows what rules are and how the company is supposed to operate, and giving guidance to many of the situations licensees face on a day-to-day basis. It's not a sales training manual. It's just how you're supposed to act in the office. Safety concerns on appointments and showings. I think this is important. So I put an X by that. I will highlight the bullets underneath all these bullets here. Now, I got to tell you something. The top 5 professions where more people die. Let me give them to you in order. Number 1 is police officers. Next one is convenience stores, then it goes to gas stations, liquor stores, and then real estate agents. Why? All these professions deal with strangers. Now, approximately 40 to 45 licensed agents or property managers as well. I want to include that in there too. About 40 to 45 die every year. Now, half of them die in a car accident on the way to an appointment, but it still counts in their profession, or they fell down some stairs or something like that. But then things happen to agents. There's, you remember about 4 years ago in somewhere in Arkansas, I forgot the city. I want to say Hope, but I'm not 100% sure. There was an agent, her name was Beverly Carter, and some young man killed her. And they caught the guy, and they asked him, why did you kill this real estate agent, Beverly Carter? Well, she was rich and pretty. That's why he killed her. She drove a Cadillac Escalade. She had a lot of jewelry on her. You got to be careful about flashing jewelry and stuff like that. Now, for example, what I'm doing, I train my agents when I do open houses. I want 2 agents at the open house at the same time. I want 2 agents at the open house, just so for many different reasons. To guide the people, to keep them company, but safety is another thing too. I want agents when I go on showings, especially if they're showing a vacant home, to make sure that people know exactly where you are, what your schedule is. Just take these extra precautions. I tell my agents, you never go out on an appointment with anyone unless they come to the office first. They have to come to the office first. Now, if you're doing an open house by yourself, which is fine, here's what I tell all my agents to do. That anyone that wants to see the house, you have a right to ask everyone to see a photo ID. Take a picture of that photo ID and send it to your computer. But if you do that with one person, you have to do that with every single person that comes to this open house. Oh, here's a woman that's carrying a 6-month-old baby. She looks safe. I don't need to check her ID. Well, guess what? You just discriminated against everybody else. And besides that, if someone's dirty, they're going to say, oh, you know what? I don't have my photo ID. I'll be right back. They don't come back if they're dirty. Okay. You do have a right, but you better make sure you do that with every single person that comes to that open house if you happen to be doing an open house by yourself. So I tell them to program their phones to 911. They have these apps that will locate exactly where you're at and call the police. It's like a panic button, and you have to press it twice, and the police will be there immediately. I tell all the neighbors, hey, I'm doing an open house. I'm here Sunday between 1 and 4. So you're going to see people coming in. When you show property, you make sure you can exit out. You don't go in the basement first if there's no exit. You let them go out. You make sure there's an exit for you. So you got to take certain precautions. Just common sense, too. You got to use your common sense. So, question I have here. If you have a conceal and carry, can you carry your weapon? If you have a CNC, CCW, yeah, sure you can. Why not? If you have that, you're licensed, you're trained, you have a permit to carry it. I would, I think I have not asked my sponsoring broker, the owner of the company, if he allows weapons in the office. I don't want to ask him that because he says no, then you can't bring a weapon, even if you have the owner of the property has to make that decision. If he says no weapons, no weapons. So I don't say anything to him. I never ask him about that. I think the dumbest thing I ever saw on any business when they have a sign, no guns allowed, no guns allowed. You know what I like? When a couple of bad guys go in there and try to rob a guy and the guy shoots them back. I'm kind of, if they're trying to rob them. That's what I'm saying. They go in there with intent to rob. They have a right to defend their business. But when they have signs, no guns allowed, they're just told everyone, I don't have a gun, so anyone that comes in there, you know, they have a. Someone says I get along with them really well. No, I mean I think owners have a right to protect their properties and stuff like that. So a lot of bad guys have guns. They don't know how to use guns either. Okay. Under the Real Estate License Act of 2000, Section 10-14, you don't have to memorize these sections. It says every brokerage company or entity other than a sole proprietorship with no other sponsor licensee shall adopt a company office policy. The topics include agency policy of the entity, of the corporation or whatever it might be, fair housing, non-discrimination, and it should say sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is brand new, just passed in Illinois. I have to teach it for continuing education. It is going to be included in your post brokers, confidentially of client information and advertising. Okay. Now, question here. I have a family that works at cops, and I can tell you a lot of stories. People need to protect themselves. You know what? I know a lot of cops. I know a lot of cops. I do. I mean, a lot of them. And you know what's been going on? You know what? The cops I know, they're a year or two away from retirement. You know what? They're not chasing these gangbangers down anymore. They're waving goodbye at them. They're going to lose their pension and everything else. It's a shame. You know, you know what? I'll tell you this, in my opinion, whether you're a cop, whether you're a teacher, a real estate agent, a manager, whatever it is, there's always a small percent that's bad. Okay. It's less than 5%. Majority of them are very good. I don't care, cops, teachers, whatever else. I'll give you an example. If you watch the news in Chicago every day, if you had no children, no teenagers, or didn't know any teenagers, if you watch the news every day, you would think, watching the news, that every single teenager belongs to a gang and goes around doing drive-by shooting. The percent of teenagers in the city of Chicago that are hardcore gang members, it's not even 1%. It's not even 1%. They're getting all the attention. But again, if you have teenagers and your children have friends that are teenagers, you know, 99% of them are good kids. It's a very small percent that makes all the news. I'm telling you, it's a very small percent of bad policemen, very small percent of bad priests, a very small percent of whatever profession that's out there. I'm telling you, it's not every single teenager that's bad. I'm telling you. But you wouldn't know if you had no children, no teenagers or associated with any teenagers. No one would know. For real, that's a fact. Errors and omission insurance. Everyone does need errors and omission insurance in case you make a mistake on a contract or you put down the wrong information on the listing information sheet. That's why we have errors and omission insurance. You get that through your sponsoring broker. So those are some of the costs you need to check in with. And here's some of the common errors and omission insurance that's out there. There's no any type of insurance, E&O insurance, or any type of insurance that protects against discrimination. There is nothing. Only thing you get for discrimination, guess what? Jail. You go to jail. So you can read there's a couple of pages on here. It's just basically what I said. Everyone needs errors and omission insurance. So don't just go over this. You're going to get maybe one question or maybe two at the most. So just that it protects the agent in case they make a mistake, and you can go over what they do. Let's talk about personal assistance right now. Top producing agents. I'm talking about agents doing $20 million in sales, 20, 30, 40, 50 million, 100 million, 150. The top agent in the Chicagoland area sold over approximately $200 million in real estate, not commercial. He did all residential. Yeah, he has some developments. He had a bunch of developments, and he sold over about $200 million. Now, when you're doing that kind of business, you can't handle that yourself. This one particular guy, he has 12 assistants that help him. Now, there are these personal assistants. There are two types of personal assistants that someone could hire. One's called a licensed personal assistant. The other's called a unlicensed personal assistant. Now, an unlicensed personal assistant, they're limited to doing clerical type work. They could answer phones, they could take messages, they could, design a flyer, they could put up the sign, they could file documents or assemble documents, file papers. They could, if they're unlicensed, those are the things they could do, clerical type work. What's more important is what they cannot do if they're not licensed. What they cannot do, they cannot show property, they cannot host an open house, interpret contracts and negotiate contracts. They cannot do anything that a license is required. They cannot. Now, let's see what the next section is. A licensed personal assistant, what they could do, and those are the bullets underneath, they could host the open house, they could show property, they could interact with the clients, they could interpret contracts and negotiate contracts. They could do anything that a licensee could do. Now, let's say you are a broker working for a sponsoring broker. You're very busy and you decided to hire me, and I happen to be a licensed broker also. So a licensed personal assistant is not a separate license. It's someone that has a broker's license, but rather working directly for a sponsoring broker. I'll be working for you, for example, as another broker, as your personal assistant. Again, since I'm licensed, I could do anything you could do. Now, how you pay me, you can pay me hourly, you can pay me a salary, you can pay me 8% of the commission, but you cannot pay me directly. You must go, whatever you're going to pay me, since I'm licensed, it has to go through our sponsoring broker before it comes to me. I, as a licensee, must have a ICA agreement, independent contractors agreement, with the sponsoring broker. Now, if I'm unlicensed, you can pay me directly, but you can only pay me hourly or salary. You cannot give me 8% of the commission. Just want you to make sure you're clear on that. Now, I got a question here. Let's see what it says. Question. Can your unlicensed personal assistant go with you to show a property if you need someone to go with you for safety? Well, yeah, they could go, but the problem is this. You bring your unlicensed assistant with you, and I understand the safety thing. You got to be careful that they don't say anything at all to the client, nothing at all, because otherwise you could lose your license for that. They're not licensed. And you know what? They try to help you sell the property, so they will say things, and that's where the problem comes in. But it is a good idea. And if you don't have a personal assistant, you want to have a spouse or something, but you got to be very careful that they don't say anything. Sometimes agents will bring their spouse to keep them company and for safety, maybe in the property. And I'm going to just sit in the corner and watch TV. And but they're going to say something because they want to help you sell the property. It's really, really hard to control them, to stop them from saying anything. But safety comes first too. So safety comes before commissions. Understand that. A couple paragraphs down, the third paragraph after the bullet, the Real Estate License Act of 2000 requires that licensed brokers working as a personal assistant must have the employment agreement with their sponsoring broker, and they can only get paid by their sponsoring broker. Now, let's go on to this case study over here. Real estate broker Maria is a top producing agent with a large firm. She employs two personal assistants, one who is licensed, a licensed broker, Martin. The other is Mina, a unlicensed, who is unlicensed. Martin, the broker, handles all of the showings, inspections, appraisals, etc., while Mina, the unlicensed assistant, handles the paperwork and the follow-up with the clients, attorneys, lenders, and other agents. While broker Maria and licensed assistant Martin were attending a all-day seminar, Mina received a call from a buyer who wanted to see one of Maria's listings that was on the market for a long, long time and ready to expire. The buyer was deciding on making an offer on Maria's listing or another property and wanted to see Maria's listing now. Mina, couldn't reach Maria or Martin. And since Mina was very familiar with the property, she decided to assist the buyer. Mina met the buyer at the property, let the buyer inside. Mina never said anything to the buyer. The buyer was pleased with the property and the offer was accepted by the seller. How should broker Maria handle this situation? I want you to choose one. A, broker Maria should immediately terminate Mina and let her sponsoring broker aware of what happened. B, Maria shouldn't say anything because the buyer and the seller did agree on a purchase sales contract and everyone is pleased. C, Mina should have waited until she heard from the broker Maria. And then D, Maria's action resulted in a sale and she should be compensated for a job well done. What do you think will be the answer? Okay. What do you have? You can't choose one. I can't choose more than one. You can only choose one. You choose two answers, it's going to be wrong. The answer is, the best answer is A. Broker Maria should immediately terminate Mina because she went way beyond what she's allowed to do. She did put the broker Maria license in jeopardy, the sponsoring brokers license in jeopardy as well. She should have not had done that. I don't care what her intentions are. Don't care what the results are. She can't do that. Okay. You're going to get about 5 or 6, I think 6 case scenarios, and I put about 6 of them together that you'll see throughout this book. Now, sponsoring brokers' compensation or commission. I'd like you to highlight for X by that one line. The sponsoring broker's compensation is specified in the contract with the client. So, how much of a commission you're charging someone has to be stated in the contract. The next paragraph, very important. The amount of the broker's commission is always negotiable in every single case. There is no set fees. It's not like this is what everybody else charges and this is the average, or the multiple listing service will not let us put anything in there that has anything less than this amount. No. Now, the office could set a policy for everyone to follow, but commissions are negotiable. What I don't like is that agents, they panic when it comes to commission. They walk in the seller's home and the seller starts barking right away. What do you charge for commission? And then the agent panics. We charge 6, we charge 5, I charge 4, I charge 3, I charge 2. What are they going to do next week? Next time, pay someone to list their property? I think that if you feel that you're worth a commission, you should get that commission. You shouldn't have any problem with it. I don't sell real estate anymore because I manage a big office. I don't sell, I don't compete. When I did sell real estate, I got a higher commission than anyone else in the office. I would say I also got a higher commission than almost anyone else in the city. Why? I thought I was worth it. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, Commissions. Only a licensed designated managing broker or sponsoring broker may collect a commission in Illinois, and then the designated managing broker or sponsoring broker may share it with any licensees who are directly involved in or responsible for a given transaction. Now, to collect a commission on the next page, you can highlight. The agent must have been hired by way of an agreement, whether buyer's agreement or listing agreement, in which the principal, the seller, or the buyer agrees to pay a specified commission for their services. You can go over the rest of those those paragraphs yourself. Let's go down to there are all these one-line paragraphs, so going down about 5 or 6, there's one that says, although commissions are earned when a sales contract is signed, they're usually paid at the closing. It says states so in the sales contract or the listing agreement, not the sales contract. I'm sorry, the buyer agency agreement or the listing agreement. So you go over the rest of these bullets down here. After the 6th bullet where it says to be considered the procuring cause of sale. I get a highlight, put an X by that. Procuring cause of sale is an uninterrupted chain of events without abandonment or estrangement that led to the successful closing of a transaction. Procuring cause of sale is the number one complaint that I hear on the board. I think I told you I serve as one of the judges for the Chicago Association of Realtors. I serve as a judge to hear the cases. If there's a complaint filed against a real estate licensee by another real estate licensee or by a member of the general public, it goes to what we call grievance committee. They review the case. If there's any merit to it, they try to do arbitration or mediation, but that doesn't result in anything, then they kick it up to us and we have a hearing. And the number one complaint we have is called procuring cause of sale. Why did that person buy that property? So we have to weigh in all the evidence. As I said, they bring in witnesses and there's transcripts and they even bring in lawyers sometimes and stuff like that too. So, and we hear the cases and we make a decision. It's reviewed by our attorneys at the board, and sometimes people don't like our decisions. They've taken our case to Illinois Circuit Court. Illinois Circuit Court has never overturned any decision we make because we're very thorough. I mean, we could hear a case that might take an hour, hour and a half, but then we're discussing this for 4 or 5 hours. It's a whole day process. So I enjoy it though. It's a lot of fun. Now, let's see. Let's go on. I'm going to the next page here. Salesforce compensation. Highlight, put an X by that paragraph. The amount of compensation a licensee receives from the sale is set by mutual agreement between the affiliated licensee and their sponsoring broker. So how much of commission that you receive from your sponsoring broker is written down in an agreement. Every office is different. There's no set fees. They cannot do that. So, I do all the training for my office, but I also do training and seminars for other sponsoring brokers if they're out of our market area. There's a handful of people I do some stuff for. And I was doing this webinar. There's this one particular broker who brought me in to do some training, but he wanted to he contacted about 30 agents that showed up at this meeting, at this little seminar I was doing, who were licensed for less than a year, but they really didn't do anything in the way of business or very little, and probably was because of lack of training. And since he brought me in to do the training, I ran the seminar. And what happened, this particular company, I can't mention the name because I'll talk about commissions, but he was offering 45% to the agent on the first 3 transactions, and then they went up from there. And I had 30 people in this webinar, and this one person, she didn't know who I was. She thought I was the owner of the company. She says, why should I come and work for you at your company at 45% when I'm earning 90% at my current company? I asked her, how long have you been licensed? And my meeting was in October. She was licensed in January. So she's been licensed for more than 10 months. I says, wow, in 10 months, you're up to 90%. I'm curious, what did you start off at? She said that I started off at 90. You mean you passed the state exam in the morning, and that afternoon you walked into a real estate office and immediately they started you off at 90%. She said, yes. And then she told me the name of the company, and I know the sponsoring broker. I don't like her. I don't like the sponsoring broker of that company. I says, well, let me ask you a question. This is in front of 30 people. I said to her, well, you've been licensed for 10 months. I have a question. Oh, I lost audio, but now I'm back. Oh, your audio maybe just died because I didn't hear from anyone else. So what happened, I says, you've been licensed for 10 months. I'm curious, I asked her, how many closings have you had in the last 10 months? Well, she says, I haven't had any closings. Okay, let me ask you another question. Do you have anything under contract that's going to close in the next couple of weeks? No, I don't have anything under contract. I says, wow, 10 months, no, nothing. I says, you got any listings? I'm just curious. She says, yes. Now, her office was on the northwest side, far northwest side of the city, and she had a vacant lot listed in Joliet, it was, for $14,000, a vacant lot now. And she was proud of that. I says, here's what I told her. Now, what I said to her, I said this in front of 30 people. Now, I shouldn't have said what I said, but I guaranteed I would have said the same thing to her or to anyone else. What I did when I parked my car to go to this webinar, the office was near North Avenue and Wells. So when I parked my car, I walked by, there's a McDonald's on the corner of North and Wells. And when I walked by, I noticed they had a sign, now hiring. They're hiring people to work there, and they're offering a vacation and health benefits too, which was nice. So I told her, I says, here's what you need to do. Here's what I told this particular agent. You need to, when you leave this office here, go to North and Wells. It's only half a block away. There's a McDonald's on the corner. They're hiring right now. And if you work there and you get hired at minimum wage for 1 hour, 1 hour minimum wage, you will make more money than you made in the last 10 months. I said that to her, which I says I shouldn't have, but I definitely would do it again. She left my room. She walked out of my meeting. The reason she walked out, I told her the truth. She didn't want to hear the truth, but I did tell her the truth. How do you work for 10 months and not earn any commission? I don't understand that. So I was honest. Okay, now, after those 2 bullets, that next paragraph where it says fees, commissions, put an X by that. Fees, commissions, or other compensation cannot be paid to unlicensed person the services that legally require real estate license. There's an exception to that. If they're the seller or the buyer, if they're party to the transaction, then you can. But you cannot pay, or a sponsoring broker cannot pay any fees to anyone that's unlicensed. Cannot do that. 2 lines down after that paragraph, under the act. You highlight a couple lines. A licensee can form a solely owned corporation only for one purpose of receiving commissions. They have to sell under their own name, but the commissions, maybe for tax liabilities or whatever, could be paid to this corporation. They have to send all the documents to IDFPR so they understand that too. Next paragraph, highlight, put an X by that one. Commissions and disclosures. The sponsoring broker's compensation and policy with cooperating brokers who represent other parties in the transaction must always be disclosed. I mentioned that once already. I think it was it was Monday I mentioned that. Are you going to hear this again about 5 more times? Next paragraph, highlight, put an X by. If a licensee refers the client to another source for service related to the transaction, the licensee has an interest greater than 1%, that also must be disclosed. So I want you to use this construction company. I want you to use this law firm. I want you to use this title company. If I own more than 1%, that has to be disclosed. As far as commission splits, those are up to the individual broker. All of you, right, what you have to do, all of you out there right now, need to focus on everything I'm saying to prepare for the state exam. But once you get done, then you should interview with other sponsoring brokers. If you need some help, the school can help you with that. Kim Bates is the one. She knows a lot of sponsoring brokers, top agent herself for many, many years. So she's very, very good. So, let's go on to, okay, the third paragraph on this page. If a sponsored licensee has earned a commission, but its employment has been terminated prior to the payment of the commission, then that's the only time they could get paid by anyone outside of their own sponsoring broker. A real estate licensee can only get paid by their sponsoring broker only. One exception, you work for a sponsoring broker, you sold a property or two, but you left before those transactions closed. That's the only time you can get paid by someone other than your sponsoring broker. Why? You earned that commission under that first sponsoring broker. That's why. Next paragraph, legal rights and obligations, you can highlight. As each contract is prepared for signature during the real estate transaction, the licensee should advise the parties of the desirability of securing legal counsel to protect their interests. Remember, only a lawyer can offer legal advice. You cannot, otherwise you're considered practicing law without a license. You cannot do that. You should always encourage your buyer or seller to get a lawyer to help them with their transaction. Remember, they're making the biggest investment in their life. They need to spend, and what lawyers do, they have a tremendous amount of responsibility, but they work really, really cheap, in my opinion. I think they're way underpaid, in my opinion, for the responsibility that they have. So, for $500-600 is really, really cheap. They should definitely get an attorney so to handle their business. I have personally myself bought and sold over 100 properties, over 100. Every single one of them I use an attorney. Wouldn't even think about doing it. As much as I know, and I've been to, 2,000 closings, I am not would ever work without an attorney. Technology and brokerage are the future. I told you this on the first day, so you can highlight, put an X by it. What I told you on the very first day of class, that every single one of you should be contacting everyone that you know, that you are right now getting your real estate license, and that you're going to be licensed. Well, from now, we have 2 more lectures, and then I do the review. So you're going to be licensed within, 2 to 3 weeks from now. Let everyone you know, because they will wait for you. Our business is the people finding business. You got to let them know that you're getting your real estate license. Not finding houses, developing relationship, making contacts. If you're not doing this, if you haven't done it yet, you better do it now and let everyone know that you're pursuing and getting your real estate license. Market's good right now, as I told you. Now, let's talk about antitrust violations, which include price fixing, group boycotting, allocation of customers and markets, and tie-in agreements. Highlight for the X where it says price fixing. Price fixing is this. Two agents from two different companies are discussing what they charge for commission. By the way, you can lose your license and get fined $25,000 for that. Agents cannot discuss commissions. I mean, from different offices. Agents within the same office can agree on a standard commission, but they cannot discuss it with another licensee outside of their office. Now, you can advertise what you charge for commission, whatever it might be, on a flyer, on a billboard, on a sign, on your website, but you cannot discuss it with another real estate licensee. Commissions are always negotiable. You got to go and see if you even want to take that listing, if you can even sell that property. I always ask my class, what do they think is the average commission? So let me ask you, what do you think is the average commission here in the Chicagoland area? The average commission that a broker or sponsoring broker charges a seller of a property. What do you think would be the average commission? What is the average commission in the Chicagoland area? By the way, that sounds like a state exam question. Tamara, I like what you say. You say 7%. So I'm getting anything from 4% to 7%. Okay, here's what I want to tell all of you, that 10%, I like you, Lizette. It is a trick question. There is no average. There is no average. There is no average. If you went to a client and said that the average commission is 5, 6, 7, whatever it might be, you can lose your license for that. There is no average. On the state exam, there is no average. If you said anything like that, you could lose your license and get fined $25,000. So you know there is no average. Now, when I went out on an appointment to list someone's property, they always asked me, you know, what a commission do I charge? Well, here's what I always told them. Commissions are always negotiable. Let me clear my canvas. I'm trying to do that. There we go. Commissions are negotiable. So here's what you could do. I leave it up to you. I tell them. I can get my pen to work. There we go. All right. Now, people ask me, when I sold the real estate, this is exactly what I said. I says, commissions are negotiable. Here's what you could do. You could pay me 6% if you like. Or if you want, you could pay me 7%. Or you could pay me 8%. Or you could pay me 9%. Or you could pay me 10%. So circle which one you like. Circle which one you like. Why like 4%? No, 4% is not a choice. Do you want to? Here's the thing. I'm not here to list the property. I'm here to sell your property, and I can sell your property. But you got to understand. Here, let me give you another example. Let's say there are 12 homes for sale in this neighborhood, 12 of them. So I have 12 properties here. Here's a property that's charging a 2.5% co-op fee, because they take a commission, they charge. Another one with 2.5% right here. Here's one with 2%. Here's one with 2.5%. Another one with 3%. Another one with 2.5%. Maybe here's one at 1.5%. Here's one at 3.5%. Another one at 2.5%. Another one at 2%. Another one at 2.5%. Another one at 2.5%. You're an agent working on commission. Which one of these properties are you not going to try to sell? The one at 1.5 or 2%. Why are you going to cut your commission? The one you're going to try to sell is at 3 or 3.5. Not that you should make your decision on the commission, but that's exactly what we do. Commissions are always negotiable, but I got to tell you something. To command a higher commission, you got to make sure that you're worth it. Someone asked me, can a sponsoring broker have a policy that says how much is the minimum? Absolutely. In my office, we have a policy what the minimum is. Anything less than that, I got to look at the circumstances. They have to get approval from me or the owner of the company. Let me give you another example. And I tell you, I had the situation with one of my agents. I did my training on Tuesday. A week ago, yesterday, I did this with one of my agents. I didn't allow this in there. He took a listing at 350,000, yes. And he took a 4% commission. So he got a 4% commission, which he was going to offer 2.5% co-op to the other office and 1.5 to our office. So he just cut down our commission. He says, I told him, I says, that's no way. I have to approve it. I says, that's not going to happen. He says, well, he's a customer of mine a long time. And he says, you work with a community, with a very tight community. You do it for 4% for this one, you have to do it for the other one. He says, I don't know what to do. And he's an experienced agent, about 14, 15 years in the business. I tell you what you do. Here's exactly what you do. You're going to change the commission to 6%. What we're going to do is add that 2% to the price. 2% of 350,000 is $7,000. So now we're going to list this property instead of 350. I'm going to list this property at $357,000. Let me ask you something. Do you think that's going to make a difference? Within a buyer, it's going to stop people from coming over if it's 357 opposed to 350,000? No, it's not going to make a difference. So everything is always negotiable. You're right. Everything's negotiable. Yes, the question is, does the sponsoring broker take a percent of the commission from the agent? Sure they do. It depends on what the commission split is, but usually if it's a 6% commission, half goes to the listing office, the other half goes to the selling office. And then there's a split between the sponsoring broker of each office, sponsoring broker, and the broker. And whatever that is, it's whatever it is. So can't talk about that, but that's what it is. I have a question. She's been answering all my questions. Can I charge someone a 20% commission to list their property? What do you think? You think I could? Sure, I could. Absolutely, I could. Would anyone ever pay 20% fee to list their property? Commissions are negotiable. You could charge whatever you want. You think someone will pay 20%? The answer is absolutely. Two people paid me 20 per, two different people pay me 20% commission to sell their property. Two different people. I'll tell you real quick what the story was. These are actually happened. I had a guy call me at my office at 10 o'clock in the morning. This happened a long time ago. That time I was with Coldwell Banker. And he said that I need to sell my condo by 5 o'clock today. Can you sell it by 5 o'clock today? I said, sure I could. But we had to listen at my price and my commission. We had to go below market value. If you need to sell this by 5 o'clock today, I had to go way below market value. Condos were selling for about 135,000 or something like that. It says we listed at 105,000. I have it sold by 5 o'clock today, but I want a 20% commission. Guy says, fine. He says, come down to my office. I drove all the way downtown to his office and signed a listing agreement for 105 with a 20% commission. I came back to my office. I made one phone call to some investors I knew. I got a bargain. I got a $135,000 condo. You'll pick it up for 105. They bought it cash. We closed in like 10, 12 days. The guy was very, very happy. He lost money. He had to come up with about 28,000 out of his pocket, but he was very, very happy. You know why he was happy to pay me 20% commission? I saved this guy millions and millions and millions of dollars. I saved this guy millions of dollars. And you know how I saved him millions of dollars? His wife found out he bought that condo for his girlfriend. And he had until 5 o'clock that day to get rid of the condo and the girlfriend, or she's going to sue him. And he had multi-millions of dollars. He owned 7 factories, plastic. He made some type of plastic, like yogurt cups or something. I don't remember exactly what he made. So he had to get rid of the girlfriend and the condo, or his wife was going to take him for half of everything that he had. Now, what happened was, when I saw, that's true story. Now, this is 100% true. Now, I did see the girlfriend when I brought my clients over. I saw her. Now, the girlfriend, she was from Brazil, and she was a Brazilian beauty queen winner. And she was, I'm telling you, she was stunning. She wore a diamond tiara all the time. Every time I saw her, I think she wore it to bed. I don't know. But every time I saw her, she had this diamond tiara that she always wore with her. She had a little dog, had a diamond collar. He bought her a Mercedes, gave her a Mercedes to drive around in. And she was really, really attractive. And I said to the guy, when I saw him at the closing again, I says, okay, I says, honestly, I tell you what I said to him. I says, I don't know what your wife looks like, but if your wife was going to divorce you because of your girlfriend, if you brought your girlfriend to court, the judge would take one look at her and said, you know what? I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing. And the judge says, you know what? You keep everything you have. You don't have to give it away. That's what the judge would have said. I'm telling you, the judge, because she was really, really stunning. I told him, I can't believe you're going to let that go. I says, why don't you buy her another condo? And you put the Mercedes in her name. Obviously, you trust her at some point. Buy her a condo. You got the money. Buy her another condo. And let her have it in her name. This way your wife would never find out about it. He says, Sam, that's a good idea. Well, could you help her find a condo? I go, oh, yeah. I enjoyed taking her out and showing her properties. No. Someone says, what if it's a female judge? Let me tell you something. A female judge would have looked at her and said the same thing. I'm telling you. So I did like taking her out and showing her condos. I did. So, and he bought another condo for her. So that did happen. So that was and I had another one. I sold it for 20% commission. It was in the same building, same condo building. Because I sold it in one day and I sent out postcards to everyone in the building. Sold in one day. The lady who had the unit above had a property on the market for 10 months with another company. And she called me up, can you sell my condo in one day? I said, yes, ma'am, I can. My price, my terms. I went to see her. I went to look at her. The same unit right above. And she had a property on the market, couldn't sell it. Here's what happened. She had the condo paid for. She bought a home and she was moving to a condo in Florida. It was October. She did not want to be in Chicago for another winter. She had very few clothes. She had a couple dresses in there. She had one coffee pot. She's sleeping on an army cot. That's all, or fold-away bed, one of those things. And she wanted to get out of here, but did not want to leave until she tied up all her loose ends. So I told her, I says, yeah, my price, my terms, I want 20%. She says, okay, call up the same investor, sold it to them. And one day she was happy. She went on her way in, less than 2 weeks. So I did get a higher commission because I think you got to do the things to get the property sold. You got to give them the most money, amount of money. Am I going to just put in a multiple listing and put up a sign? No. I promote the property. I have a broker's tour, open house. I contact the top 100 agents in the area that has sold properties in there. And I give them information on this. I mean, there's a lot of ways of marketing the property. I don't know if I told you this story, but one of my agents that works in my office, her name is Sherry Erlacher. She's Brian Erlacher's brother. She took my class with me about 2 years ago. And when I saw the name, I go, Erlacher's not a common name, any relation to Brian. She goes, that's my baby brother. So she works for me. She works in my office. She lives in Lake Bluff, but she works in my office. So she's doing really well too. Really, my office is in Chicago. She lives in Lake Bluff, but she's doing very well as an agent. Well, anyways, her brother lives in a city called Mattawa, which is right next to the Libertyville. It's in Lake County next to Libertyville. It has 10 acres, has a pond, has a couple cows. So what happened is he had his property on the market for a year. Didn't trust his sister to sell the property. Oh, by the way, he gave me an autographed football with his name. I have it right here, actually, behind me. So, but didn't trust his sister enough, didn't think she had enough experience to sell $3 million property. Property on the market for a year, did not sell. I told her, I says, to sell a $3 million property, you got to find what your target market is. And I asked her, I says, your brother's still involved, with the Bears? He made Hall of Fame last year and stuff like that. She goes, yeah. So he knows the agents, the accountants, the lawyers, the other Bear players, everything else like that. So here's my plan. I'm supposed to see him next month. I'm supposed to meet Brian Erlacher next month. Tell him what my plan is. We are going to have a event at his house. We're going to invite the Bears players, the agents, the attorneys, the accountants, everyone involved with them. We're going to serve real nice wine, nice fine hors d'oeuvres. I'm going to have some background music. I'm going to have, I don't know, like a harp, someone playing a harp or violinist or something like that. I'm going to have the background music. We're going to invite all these people to it. We're going to put together a real nice package for all of them, because your target market is people that can make the money to afford a $3 million home. Putting a sign in a multiple listing, you're not going to attract the right people. Also, I found out that her other brother, his name is Casey Erlacher, who is the mayor of Mattawa, of the city of Mattawa. So I says, we're going to invite your other brother, Casey, and he has connections with a lot of state legislators and things like that, and other mayors up in Lake County. We're going to invite them as well too. That's how you're going to find out. That's what you're going to do to sell that property. You got to figure out what your target is, and bring those kind of people to sell that property. That's what you have to do. That's what I told her. So she's talking to him, and hopefully I'll meet with him next week. And I know we could get that. Oh, by the way, for the music and the hors d'oeuvres and fine wine and putting the package together, guess what? I have someone that's going to pay for all of it. It's not going to cost my agent a dime. I have a mortgage guy who wants to pay for everything. Why? Because he's going to include something in a package that we hand out to everyone. He's going to be there, of course, and then he can, work the circle and get leads for himself. He's going to get multi-million-dollar clients off of that. That's how we're going to sell that property. I told him that. I didn't tell him that, but I will. So I'm sorry, I got way off track on that price fixing. Let's go on to the next one. Someone asked me a question. You can interview with me. I will talk to you. I like to interview with all of you. Someone asked if they can interview with me. I would like to interview with you. I show you my training program. I have the best training program. There's a lot of sponsoring brokers in the city. They know me by name, and they'll tell you one of the best trainers in the city. It's me. I'm certified by many different companies. So that's fine. I would love to have you, and I will give you the information at the end of the class. Believe me, I will. So we do very well. I'll get you successful in the next 30 days, I'm telling you. Group boycotting. I want you to highlight, put an X by that one. Group boycotting, you're welcome with that and that too. Group boycotting is, let's say Century 21, Remax, Berkshire Hathaway. They said, we don't like, I don't know, we don't like Keller Williams. We're not going to show their property. That's group boycotting. Cannot do that. You just cannot do that. I got another question. Yeah, you know what, Alberto? I like. Yeah, I was just. I'm going to see Frank tomorrow. In fact, I'm going to see Frank tomorrow. And I was there last week too. Frank and Sophia. So, someone asked me what I interview in Naperville. Let me tell you something. I do. You know why? You do a lot of stuff online. It's not like you have to come to the office once. I got agents that live in, like I says, Lake Bluff. I have an agent that lives in Dalton. I got agents that live in Beverly. I got agents that live in River Forest. I have them in Oak Park. I have them Highland Park. I have them all over. Doesn't matter. You can work for wherever you want. We'll talk about that later. I'll talk about that. Allocation of customers or markets. Your license is going to say state of Illinois. You can sell anywhere in the state of Illinois. Allocation of customer markets. Coldwell Banker, you can only sell in Lakeview, and Berkshire Hathaway, you can only sell in Lincoln Park, and Keller Williams, you can only sell in Wrigleyville. No, you cannot assign territories or markets. Tie-in agreements, highlight, put an X by that. Tie-in agreements are illegal. A tie-in agreement is this. Well, if I sell your home here in Chicago, when you buy a home, you have to use me to buy a home. Can't do that. I mean, I can't do that. I mean, if you want to work with me, let's say I sold your home in Chicago. Now you're going to move to, say, Naperville. Well, you might want to get an agent from Naperville, someone that knows the community and knows about the culture, about they have ice skating for, girls between 10 and 14. They have soccer. They have know the metro, the school systems. You got to know these things. Yes, if you want to work with me, that's fine. Cannot force you to work with me. Tie-in agreements are illegal. Another example of a tie-in agreement. If you buy a home from me, you must use my lender, my attorney, my home inspector, my title company. I can recommend people to you. I cannot make you use them. So now, do not call registry. I hate this thing here, the new do not call registry. I mean, a lot of people don't like the cold calls and stuff like that. But you know what? When they passed this law, it eliminated probably hundreds of thousands of jobs. Telemarketers didn't get paid a lot, but I think the law passed that since 2003, you cannot solicit anyone that's on a do not call list. Now, except that We talk to everyone. I have never hung up or cuss out a telemarketer in my life. But I'm telling you, every single telemarketer has hung up on me and never ever called me back. Never. Now, when they call me and they try to sell me things, first of all, I like them. When they're from other countries, I ask them. I ask them, what's your name? Oh, in their accent from whatever country they're calling from. Oh, my name is Tom. Tom what? Oh, my name is Tom Hanks. They're told to take American names. They take movie star names. They take. I had Abraham Lincoln call me, try to sell me windows or something like that. Couldn't understand his accent, but that's what they do. Now, when they call me, like I says, I'm not mean or anything else to them, and they're trying to sell me things, and I tell them, well, you have to come to my house because I'm under house arrest. I just got out of prison, and I'm not allowed out of the house, so you have to come here. Now, I'm not dangerous as long as I took my medication. Then I would ask that person, did I take my medication today? See, when you mention prison and you mention you're on medication, they don't want to talk to me anymore. Don't understand that. Oh, I lost audio, or someone did. Now, okay, came back. Told you a good story. So, just tell you that I think this do not call registry, what it is. Here's what you need to know. First of all, the people on the do not call registry, they have to renew every 5 years. And sometimes you call people because our business is soliciting and stuff like that. No one likes making cold calls, so there's other ways of doing it. But if you see for sale by owner, you want to call them. Are you a real estate agent? I'm not doing not call this. Well, no, you posted your number. If I have a possible client for you, would you want to see him? I mean, and that's the truth. But they have to sign up every 5 years. So now, what I want you to know, you're gonna tell them you're gonna say that next. They're hang up on you. Tell my story. Now, here's what I want you to know. If we skip down a few paragraphs, it starts off with licensees are permitted, and it's underlined. If you have a relationship with someone, even if they're on a do not call list, you have a right to call them up for up to 18 months after the last payment, purchase, or delivery. You have a right to do that legally for up to 18 months. I want you to know that. A lot of you will see that on a state exam. This next thing, it's in the middle, it should be about the middle, Can Spam Act. Highlight, put an X by that one. Now, if you're going to send out junk emails to people, go ahead and do that. But you got to make sure there's a way they can unsubscribe if they don't want to receive any more of these junk emails. That's what you need to know about that one. And then this next thing is, and I guess it's on a state exam. I don't know if people really use faxes anymore, but it's on a state exam. So this is called the Junk Fax Prevention Act. So put an X by that one. If you're going to send out junk faxes out to people, you got to have a way they can opt out if they don't want to receive any more faxes, okay? The last office I have 2 fax machines at my office. We have 2 of them at my office. And you know what? When we had that tornado that came on the north side about 6 weeks ago, that actually landed in the Rogers Park area, all our computers went out. All our computers and our lights and the air conditioning went out. Guess what worked? The fax machines. I don't know how, but they work. Well, they're on phone lines, I guess. I don't know. But that's the only thing working in our office. No lights, no air, no computers, no internet, but our faxes were working. Okay, let's go on to state licensing laws. I like you to highlight the last paragraph of 273 and the first paragraph on the next page. We have Illinois real estate licensing laws, and the purpose of licensing laws are to evaluate the competency of licensees engaged in a business for the protection of the public. Oh yeah, I mean, all of Toohey Avenue, it went down Jarvis by Western, it tore out our gutters, but it did a lot of damage up and down. If you went up and down between Toohey and Howard, and I can't remember the streets, off of Rockwell, west of Rockwell. I can't even remember what they were. They got hit hard. Right across the street from Eastern Style. There are a lot of trees down there. They're still taking them down like 4 weeks later. It was bad. Tornado hit Chicago. Doesn't happen that often. Okay, let's talk about brokerage agreements. Now, I want you to highlight the first couple of lines of that paragraph. A brokerage agreement are employment contracts for the personal professional services of the sponsoring broker. Cannot be transferred to another company. This is where the buyer hires the sponsoring broker to help them to help them find them a property, or the seller hires the sponsoring broker to help them sell their property. Now, all the buyers and sellers always belong to the sponsoring broker. You work on behalf of your sponsoring broker. A listing agreement is a employment agreement between, and put X by this one, the sponsoring broker and the seller. A buyer's representation agreement is between the sponsoring broker and the buyer. We're talking about types of listing agreements. Now, last thing I left off at, I mentioned that listing agreements is a personal service agreement between the sponsoring broker and the seller of the property. This is on page 275, I believe. Let me just double check. Yeah, we're on page 275. So there are 4 types of listing agreements. I expect that all of you should get anywhere from, let's say, 4 to 6 questions, at least 5 to 6 questions on these different types of listing agreements. So the first one I want to talk about is called an exclusive right to sell. You can highlight, put an X on that one. It's the most common type of listing agreement. Actually, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write out everything that you do need to know about these different types of listing agreements. So I'd like you to highlight, put an X by the first one, exclusive right to sell listing agreement. The very next paragraph, exclusive agency listing agreement. The third one, the next paragraph, open listing agreement. And the fourth one should be a couple paragraphs down, should be net listing. Third paragraph down, net listing. So highlight, put an X by all of these. I like to write out what you need to know about these. So, and if you write them out, I think I'll stick to you a little bit more. So, different types of listing agreements. The first one is called an exclusive right to sell listing agreement. Exclusive right to sell listing agreement is the most common type of listing agreement that exists. An exclusive right to sell listing agreement, the seller lists their property with only one sponsoring broker. One sponsoring broker. If the listing agent sells the property, or if any agent sells the property, or if the seller sells the property, the listing broker gets paid. Exclusive right to sell listing agreement, most common type of listing agreement that exists. The seller signs up with only one sponsoring broker. Now, if that broker sells a property, or if any other broker sells a property, even if the seller themselves, they can sell the property to their own mother, doesn't matter. The listing broker will get paid. I would guess well over 99% of all listing agreements are exclusive right to sell. Now, the second type of listing agreement that exists, and you got to be familiar with all four of these, because you will get a lot of questions, at least 5 to 6. Well, not at least, I would say 5 to 6. Number 2 is called exclusive agency. Now, an exclusive agency listing agreement, the seller lists their property with only one sponsoring broker. So, if the listing agent sells a property, or if any agent sells the property, the listing agent, the listing broker, I should say, or agent, doesn't matter, gets paid. If the seller sells the property to their own buyer, then no commission is paid. So exclusive agency listing, the listing agreement, seller signs up with only one sponsoring broker. Now, if that broker sells a property or any other broker sells a property, the listing broker will get paid, but the seller reserves the right to sell that property to their own buyer. They would not have to pay commission. Next one is called an open listing. Number 3. Open listing agreement. Now, an open listing agreement, the seller can list their property with as many brokers as they want. The seller pays a commission to the broker who is procuring, procuring cause a sale. Which means that they're the ones that bring in the buyer. Now, if the seller sells a property to their own buyer, no commission is paid. Open listing agreement. The seller signs up with as many brokers as they want. They get signed up with 100 different companies. They only pay commission to the one that's procuring cost of sale, the one that brings in the buyer. Seller reserves the property, reserves the right to sell the property on their own. Now, before I go into the next one, an exclusive right to sell listing. Let me just repeat this one. Seller signs up with only one sponsoring broker. Now, if that broker sells or any other broker sells a property, even if the seller sells the property themselves, the listing broker gets paid. You're only going to see one sign in front of this property. You're going to see one sign by the one company that they list with, for sale by ABC Realty. Now, exclusive agency listing agreement, the seller lists their property with only one sponsoring broker. Now, if that broker sells a property or any other broker sells a property, I wrote that wrong. If the listing agent sells a property or any agent sells a property, listing broker gets paid. But the seller reserves the right to sell that property to their own buyer. No commission is paid. So on this exclusive agency, you're going to see two signs in front of the property. You're going to see one for sale by ABC Realty, and you see another one that what we call for sale by owner. So you have two signs there. Open listing, open listing, they could sign up with as many brokers as they want. They only pay commission who's procuring cause of sale. They sell on their own, they would not have to pay any commission. Let me check a question here. Okay. Okay, Lizette, I hope you're back online. It's been almost 2 minutes, so. Now, if the seller has a buyer, why would they go to an agent? Well, let me explain this to you. Brokers have been receiving a commission to sell property for about 175 years. There was no value to it. They wouldn't need us. And they wouldn't be paying that commission for all these 175 years. Now, if they have a buyer, that's fine. But exposing it to as many buyers as possible is the best way to get the most money possible. So work. Let me tell you what happened today. Actually, yesterday, one of my agents wrote up an offer on a property. It's in the 3400 block of Natchez. It's about 6500 west, about 3400 north, kind of like by Belmont and Narragansett, kind of close to what we call the Brickyard area. Guy had his property on the market 7 days through a multiple listing. I think it was a little bit below market, listed at 275. Beautiful. It was supposed to be a real nice bungalow. And he had 24 offers on that property. 24 offers. One of them was my agent who went a little bit over full price, did not get it. Sold for cash for over 300,000. 25 offers or 24 offers, something like that. The thing is, we could expose that property to a lot more people. So, yeah, if they could do that well on their own, they wouldn't need us. But guess what? Let me tell you something else. They could go do a for sale by owner and get their own buyer. Here's some facts on that one. This is according to National Association of Realtors. 7 out of 10 people that try to sell for sale by owner, 7 out of 10, so 70% will list with a real estate broker. 70% will. 1 out of 10 will change their mind and take their property off the market. 1 out of 10 will actually sell their property, and then 1 out of 10, the other 1 out of 10, we call them FSBO forever. You know, they've been trying to for 3 years. The son has bleached out the phone numbers. They're never going to sell that property. It's not easy to do a for sale by owner. You know, there's a website, forsalebywowner.com. I forgot the guy's name that owns the company, who started the company, forsalebywowner.com. The guy that owns the company, forsalebywowner.com, this is about 2 years ago, put his property on the market on his own website, the company that he owns, on the market for 10 months, could not sell the property. He finally listed with another company. The name of the company was Remax, and sold it in less than 30 days. So this is a guy that owns that company. Couldn't sell it. So let's got another question, a couple other questions. Selling on your own is a pain in the butt. You're right. You tried it recently. It's not easy. End up going with a listing agent. That's good. So yeah, a lot of people, you know, give them a chance, let them sell it. I've done this a lot with people, but yeah, it is a pain in the butt. You know, people are not qualified, and people come up to a for sale by owner because they think they're going to get a better deal. What they're trying to do is save the commission. The buyer's trying to save the commission, but the seller went for sale by owner in order to save the commission. Two people are trying to save one commission. It doesn't happen. And here's another fact. According to the National Association of Realtors, people who use a real estate agent, on the average, they get 13% more money than they ever did on their own, even paying a full commission. Since a listing agent does not collect the commission, the seller has his own buyer. Who writes the contract? Well, the sellers, all on their own. They're all on their own. They get their own lawyer. They got to make sure the guy's qualified. They have to write up the offer. They have to come up with well, they're going to have the disclosures anyways. But it doesn't really happen. Like I says, more than 99%, well over 99% of all listing agreements are exclusive right to sell. Does the seller need to inform the broker ahead of time before accepting an offer, an exclusive agency listing? Yes, he has to let him know that he has an offer on the property. Yes, he does. In case you're missing. So those are the three of them. Let me go to the fourth one. The fourth one is called net listing. Now, I'm going to explain a couple of things about number 4. This is called a net listing. Now, a net listing is allowed, is legal here in the state of Illinois. But net listings are considered undesirable, they're considered unethical. They take advantage of a certain class of people, and the class of people they take advantage of are usually the elderly. Sometimes what happens, people who are retired own their home for a long time. Pension doesn't go up, neither does the Social Security, and they tend to lose the value of money. They sometimes don't know the value of their home. And they bought it a long time ago, 30 years ago, didn't pay a lot for it. It was a lot of money at that time. But see, they will come up to an agent and they say, well, I want to do a net listing. I want $350,000 for my property. Anything above that amount, you can keep as your commission. That's what a net listing is. So here's what happens. This is the problem that it could cause. Let's say I'm the listing agent. I list a property at 450,000. That is the true value of this property, 450. That's the current value. But I have a net listing. Anything over 350 is my commission. I sell it at 450. I'm entitled to a $100,000 commission. But do you think I might have a problem with that? Yes, I will. Why? We cannot take advantage of someone's lack of knowledge. People will buy a home maybe only once or twice in their entire lives. We deal with real estate every day. I know the value is 450. I have to let the seller know. Now, here's a question for you. This is a state exam question. All right. I took a net listing. Even though it's undesirable, unethical, it is legal. I took a net listing. I listed the property at 450,000, the true value of the property. The owner says, I want to do a net listing. I want 350,000. Anything over 350, you can keep as your commission. So I listed at 450. I sold the property, yet I did not collect a close, yet I did not collect a commission. Question is, why? This is a state exam question. So I want all of you to answer it. I'm going to explain the question again. The owner says, let's do a net listing. The owner wants 350. Anything above that, I could keep as my commission. That's a net listing. So I listed the property at 450, the true value. Anything over 350 is mine. So I listed it at 450. I sold this property. We closed on this property, yet I did not get paid a commission. Question is, why not? State exam question. Give you a moment to answer. I'll explain the question again. State exam. Okay. I'll just explain it again. I took a net listing. Owner says I want 350. Anything over 350 is my commission. I listed a property at the true value of 450. Sold and closed. Yet I did not earn a commission. Question is, why not? So I want you to try, all of you. There's a guy like 24 of you out there, 22 of you or something. This is right off the state exam, word for word. I did a net listing, not an open listing, net listing. I brought in the buyer, I sold it myself. Okay, so my answers, some people are stuck on it. Some people said, did not disclose 100,000 was a commission. No, because the buyer only made a offer of 350 at your listing. Correct, Brian. All right, I'm going to explain this to you. A couple of you got this. Sold and closed at 350 or less because they received the 100,000. No, because of the open listing. It's a net listing. No, it had nothing to do with it being in writing. No. Okay, here's the answer. Which couple of you got? I listed it at 450. Anything over 350 is my commission. I sold the property. I didn't tell you what I sold it for. I sold the property. They don't either. And it closed. Why didn't I not earn a commission? Because the offer was 350 or less. Remember, my commission is anything over 350. I get an offer of 350. I could present any and all offers. Someone gives me an offer of 345. I had to present it. Seller accepts the 345. I do not get a commission because anything over 350 is mine. I want to make sure all of you understand that question. That is on the state exam. Are we okay with that? I want to make sure everyone's 100%. I'll repeat it. The question, because it's off the state exam. I listed a property at 450,000, the true value. The owner signed a net listing. Anything over 350 is their commission. I mean, anything over 350 is my commission. I sold and closed on a property. Why did I not make any commission? Because the offer was 350 or less. That's why. And I had to present it. Okay, I think you got it now. Now, I want you to be familiar with everything I wrote down here. That's why I took the time to write this all down. Now, I have a question for you. I got a couple of questions for you. These are on the state exam. Scroll up a little bit. Up this way. Go ahead and copy it. Take a snapshot. I'll leave this on here. You have to listen to the details of the question. Yes. Tamara, you have to listen to that. You got to be very careful. A net listing will not produce any commission if the property sells for anything less than what the owner wants to net out. Okay, now, I got a couple other questions for you. All right, these four listing agreements, exclusive right to sell, exclusive agency, number 3, open listing and net listing. Of these four listing agreements here, question to you, under Illinois law, I'm going to give you a state exam question, a couple of them. Under Illinois law, which one of these listing agreements mandatory must be in writing? Under Illinois law, this is a state exam question. Of these four types of listing agreements, exclusive right to sell, exclusive agency, open, and net, which one mandatory must be in writing? Open listing? No. Exclusive right to sell? No. Exclusive right to sell? No. All of them? No. Someone else said all of them. Nope. All of them to be in writing to be valid? Nope. Net listing? Nope. So, state exam question. Of these four types of listing agreements, exclusive right to sell, exclusive agency, open, and net, under Illinois law, which one mandatory must be in writing? How about none of them? Nope, that's wrong too. Exclusive agency. Nope. That's wrong too. This is going to be on the state exam. So let me tell you what the answer is. 1 and 2. Nope. Exclusive right to sell and exclusive agency. Exclusive right to sell and exclusive agency. Because under Illinois law, I told you this was out of chapter 11. Any exclusive listing agreement, mandatory, must be in writing, Any exclusive agreement, which is exclusive right to sell and exclusive agency, must be in writing. The others do not. These have to be. I told you it's going to be like the second or third question get on a state exam. Any exclusive agreement, mandatory under Illinois law, must be in writing. Now, here's the thing. If you picked out exclusive right to sell only, which is one of the choices, wrong. And you picked out exclusive agency only, which is one of the choices. That's wrong too. The answer is exclusive right to sell and exclusive agency. I believe that's at the back of this chapter, by the way, just to let you know. You have to pick out both of them. You have a choice for both of them, or one of them, or none of them. It has to be both, not just one. That's how the state exam is. Got another question for you. Of these 4 types of listing agreements here, which one of these can the seller sell on their own? They will not have to pay a commission. Which one of these listing agreements can the seller sell on their own? They will not have to pay a commission. Is it exclusive right to sell? Is it exclusive agency? Is it an open listing? Is it net listing? Someone said open listing? No. Net listing? No. B, C, and D? No. Number 2? No. Exclusive right to sell? No. There you go, Timothy. Timothy got it. Open and exclusive. Open and exclusive. Here. Exclusive agency. I wrote it down. Maybe you didn't see it. Here, I'll underline it for you. If the seller sells a property to their own buyer, no commission is paid. Here on the open listing, if the seller sells a property to their own buyer, no commission is paid. You have to pick out both of them. Again, you got to pick out both of them. If you pick out exclusive agency, which is one of the choices, wrong. You took out only open listings. That's wrong. It has to be exclusive agency and open listing. You see how tricky the state exam questions are? Very tricky. They're there to trip you up. Okay. All right, let's get back to our textbook. There we go. All right. Case study scenario. Yeah, let me take a moment to cover this one. Case study scenario, 2 parts to it. Someone asked me a question. If you have a net listing, are you allowed to sell your own property, even if the sale price is at or under the listed price? You have a right to sell your own property anytime you want, as long as you disclose that you're a licensed agent, sure, as long as you disclose. Okay, I want to go over this little scenario question. Broker Frank is a very successful top real estate agent in this market area for over 20 years. A very close friend of broker Frankie decided to list his home. The seller, Michael, a very successful business person with many business connections in the same area. Broker Frankie provided very detailed market analysis on Michael's property. And according to the market analysis, the current value is $500,000. Seller Michael felt that since Broker Frankie is a top producing agent, Seller Michael wanted to get as much as he can and want to list the property at $550,000. Broker Frankie knows that he could sell the property if it's priced correctly at $500,000. Broker Frankie wants a listing so he could tap into Michael's business connection. What should Broker Frankie do? A, B, C, or D? A, Broker Frankie should turn down the listing because it's overpriced at $550,000. Broker Frankie should take the listing at $550,000, work a lot harder, try to sell the property. C, Broker Frankie should refer his client Michael to another agent so that his relationship with Michael will not be affected. Or D, Broker Frankie should review the market data with Michael if needed, reduce his commission so that Michael will get what he wants. So why don't you think about that and come up with an answer? Someone asked me, as an agent, can you buy a property? Sure. Anyone can buy property, even if you're licensed. You just have to disclose that you're licensed. So just to recap this one question, I need all of you to answer. Broker Frank is a top real estate agent in the area. He has a good connection. This guy, Michael, seller Michael, has a lot of business connections. Michael wanted to list his property with Frankie, but Frankie knows the value is only $500,000. Michael wants to get as much money as possible, wants to list it at $550,000, 50,000 over the value. Well, Frankie does know he could sell it at $500,000, doesn't know if he could do anything at $550,000. So what should Frankie do? A, Broker Frankie should turn down the listing because it's overpriced at $550,000. B, Broker Frankie should take the listing at $550,000 and work a lot harder and try to sell the property. C, Broker Frankie should refer his client Michael to another agent so his relationship with Michael will not be affected. Or D, Broker Frankie should review the market data with Michael and if needed, reduce his commission so that the seller, Michael, will get what he wants. Okay. I got a problem here. I don't have a problem with all of you with me here. I'm having a problem with, I have 22 people in my class. So, but I'm not getting 22 people answering these questions here. Well, I got a lot of questions to ask in the next chapter. I expect everyone to answer. I don't care if you get it wrong, you're going to learn. So, best answer, believe it or not, will be, well, I got to see the answers. Let me check them out. In my opinion, the best answer, I wrote out this question anyways, the best answer will be B. I don't think anyone should ever reduce the commission because if you reduce it for one person, everyone's going to expect you to do it. And that means if you're willing to cut your commission, are you willing to negotiate the top price for the property? I think take it at 4, at $550, work a lot harder, somewhat harder, to try to get the property sold. That's what I think he should do. You don't want to refer this out to anybody. You don't want to lose that commission. So I feel that the best answer is A, and about half of you got that answer. Don't ever change your answer. Tamara, let me tell you something. People have the right answer 80% of the time. Don't second guess yourself. Don't ever change your answer unless you're 100% sure it's wrong. Now, part B of this is that while reviewing the property disclosures, Broker Frankie noticed that seller Michael failed to disclose the existing seepage problem in the basement of the house. So it is a requirement that the property disclosure form has to be filled out by the seller. He did not disclose there's a seepage problem. What should Broker Frankie do? Choices are A, Broker Frankie should insist that the seepage problem be disclosed. B, broker Frankie will inform the buyer only if asked. C, wait for the inspection report and see if this issue is discovered. Or D, broker Frankie should order an inspection by a professional to verify that there's a problem. What do you think will be the answer? All right, let's see what you have. That's good. I'm getting a lot more responses. Someone has a question. Someone says, what's the answer? This is what you're supposed to figure out. I got a couple A's, couple D's, some more A's. Oh, the answer for the first part is A. No, I'm sorry. B. Broker Frankie should take the listing, work a little bit harder to sell it. Take the listing at 550, work harder to sell. The best answer is A, and most of you got this one. The broker needs to insist that they disclose the seepage problem. They should insist on that. We don't order the inspection. And you can't pick out two. Someone picked out two answers. No, you can't do that. Someone says, I thought once you get the property appraised, you could sell it at a higher than the appraised price. Well, not quite true. Here's the thing. Just to make it simple. Let's say I had the property appraised at 100,000. Someone wants to pay 110. That's fine, but it's going to be based on $100,000, which means if you're putting 20% down, $20,000 down, you're going to come up with an extra $10,000 above the appraisal price. I don't know any buyer that will pay more than the appraised value of the property. So the best answer will be A, which I think at least most of you got that one correct. All right, guaranteed sales plan. I'm going to actually come back to this one, not in this chapter. I'm going to cover it in chapter 16 in a lot more detail. Special listing provision and multiple listing service. That's a database that we put all our properties in and expose it to all the agents that are out there. What if the seller refuses to do the disclosure? Can a realtor break the contract? Sure they can. It's against the law. It's federal law, not federal, excuse me. Illinois law states that the property disclosure needs to be filled out. We cannot take a listing unless we have the lead-based paint, if it's built before 78, radon, and the property disclosure. That's the law. Can't take the listing otherwise. Okay. It's not unethical to take a property overpriced, but you should not take an overpriced listing. If it's slightly overpriced, we're talking about 10% here. Just you got to take each situation, the circumstances before you decide what to do. And that's what I will look at. Here's a guy has a lot of great business contacts. I want to work with them. I'm going to tell him I feel it's still. I want to make it strongly felt that it's only worth 500, but I would try it at your price and see what happens. Doesn't work at your price, so I'm going to try it at my price. So that's what I would do. Now, multiple listing, that's a database that we put our listings into. Most of this stuff, let's see. You could go over the rest of this on your own. Now, termination of a listing agreement here. This is on page, I think, 277. Yes, a little bit past halfway down. Termination of a listing agreement. This says because the licensee services are unique, they cannot be assigned to another real estate licensee without the written consent of the principal. Now, 2 paragraphs on that, 1 line. Listing agreements may be terminated for the following reasons. I get a highlight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullets there. Make sure you put 2 X's by the 6th bullet. Let me go over these with you. So, listing agreement may be terminated for the following reasons. The best one is this first one, is when the agreement purpose is fulfilled. That means you bring a ready, willing, and able buyer to buy that property on the seller's terms. That's the best way of termination. The second way is when an agreement's term expires. The third way, if the property is destroyed or its use is changed by some force outside the owner's control, like a zoning or condemnation by eminent domain. Next bullet, if title to the property is transferred by operation of law, like a bankruptcy or foreclosure. The next bullet, if the sponsoring broker and the seller mutually agree to terminate the agreement. And then this one is the most important one. Make sure you have a couple X's by it. If either the sponsoring broker or the seller dies or becomes incapacitated, that would terminate the listing agreement. So remember, the listing agreements between the seller and the sponsoring broker. So if the seller dies or the sponsoring broker dies or becomes incapacitated, that would terminate the agreement. But if you, the licensed agent, was to die, it doesn't mean anything. I don't have a nice way of saying this to you, but I need you to remember this because you got at least one question correct. At least one question correct on the state exam. If you die, it means nothing. I'm sorry, I don't have a good way of saying that. If you die, it means nothing. Listing agreements between a sponsoring broker. I think we're 278, if I remember right. Let me double check. 277, sorry, page 277. Question, there was no question, actually. What I said was, well, the state exam, this question is, if the sponsoring broker was to die or the seller was to die, that would terminate the listing agreement because it's between the sponsoring broker and the seller. But if you were to die, so you got to remember this, if you were to die, means nothing. You mean nothing. I hate to say that to you that way, but you got to remember what I just said. You mean nothing. Okay, let's go to the next page, 278. The first two paragraphs, highlight, put X by. All exclusive brokerage agreement must have a definite termination date. You cannot list a property forever until it sells, must have a definite termination date. Automatic extensions are illegal. I don't sell your property in 6 months, automatically renews. Nope, doesn't happen. Safety clause, gotta highlight that one, put X by it. It's called a carryover clause, extender clause, meaning this: if I have your property listed for sale, and let's say the listing expires, anyone that saw the property while it was listed, who comes back and buys a property, if you haven't listed with someone else, I'm entitled to a commission. The reason they do this, sometimes what happens, I bring in a buyer, buyer's real hot, the listing's a week away from expiring, seller sees that, gets hold of the buyer, look, if you're really interested in this property, why don't you wait a week? It's going to expire. Then buy directly from me and we can save the commission. Think like that? You think stuff like that happens? Sure it does. Well, the thing is, I have a extended, all the listing agreements have a carryover extended clause. As long as you have not listed with anyone else, we'll be entitled to a full commission. What if someone does the listing, say for 1,000 days? No, you have to have an actual date. So figure out what 1,000 days are. And this thing's going to expire sometime in 2024, 23, whatever it is. You got to have an actual date, not 100 days. You have to have an actual date on the listing, January 1st, 2025. Thank you, Roberto. Oh, you knew it. So, yes, you can do that. There's no time limit how long you can have it on there. Okay, the listing process, you can read all this on your own. There's nothing I'm worried about this. So pricing the property, well, pricing the property, we compare a market analysis to help the seller determine the value of that property. That's what we're talking about there, pricing it. Market value, you can highlight, put X by that one. Market value is the most probable price that the property will bring in what we call arm's length transaction. Meaning both the buyer and the seller are informed, they know the value, they're working in their own best interest. As far as the information needed on a listing agreement, well, you could go over all these bullets here. It's all disclosed on here. Nothing tricky about that. They're talking about having all the disclosures that you need with it. The radon, the property disclosure form, and the lead-based paint if built before 78. Now, let's go on to this other page. You could go over everything, this one on your own too, on 281. Let's go to page 282. I think most of this, just read this, don't worry about burning this information in your brain. This on 282. I already talked about a lot of it. Let's go to page 383. Actually, you could go over this one on your, these are things that are included. Well, maybe this last paragraph might be important. We're going to talk about this in the next chapter. The biggest print you see on a listing agreement is the non-discrimination, equal opportunity wording. They have all the protected classes in there, just cannot discriminate at all. We're going to cover that in the very next chapter. Let's go to page 284. Minimum services. I thought I talked about this before, but I know it shows up on the state exam. So minimum services, highlight, put X by those two lines right there. Highlight, put X by the next three bullets. Now, all exclusive brokerage agreements, besides being in writing, must provide the following minimum services. Those three bullets. First bullet, accept the delivery of and present to the client all offers and counter offers to buy, sell, or lease the client's property. Next bullet, assist the client in developing, communicating, negotiating, presenting offers, counter offers, and notices that relate to the offers, counter offers until a lease or purchase agreement is signed. The third bullet, answer the client's questions relating to the offers, counter offers, notices, and contingency. Then signature of all the parties too. Now, let me go over this case study here. Okay, broker Kimberly has an exclusive right to sell listing agreement with her buyer on a house that is overpriced. Okay. The property has been on the market for more than 6 months with very little activity. Despite brokers Kim's efforts, Kimberly has hosted several open houses with little interest. A potential buyer, knowing that the property is overpriced, presents a lowball offer through his agent. The buyer's agent told Kimberly that the seller should accept the offer as the property has been on the market for a long time and need repairs. What should Kimberly do? A, broker Kimberly should present the offer to the seller and try to get a counter offer. Remember, they're coming with a lowball offer. B, broker Kimberly should tell the seller that if they don't take this offer, she will cancel the listing agreement. C, broker Kimberly should refuse to present the offer and stop promoting a property she cannot sell. Or D, broker Kimberly should get the seller to reduce the price so it should sell. So which is the best answer? Please answer me. A lot of people have A's. Most people have A's. A is the correct answer. The law says you have to present any and all offers, no matter what. So that's your job. Even if it's a way down low ball offer, you have to present it. That's the law. Now, I want to talk about buyer's agency agreement. Just like we have listing agreements, we have buyer agency agreements too. You can highlight that paragraph. Like a listing agreement, a buyer agency agreement is a employment contract. this case, the broker is employed as a buyer's agent to help them find that property. Most agents don't use buyer agency agreement. I think they should. It kind of makes you more professional, kind of commits you to work with them and them to work exclusively with you. Now, there are three types of buyer agency agreements I want you to be familiar with. The first one, highlight, put an X, by exclusive buyer agency agreement. This is a mirror image of an exclusive right to sell. Now, an exclusive buyer agency agreement, the buyer signs up with only one sponsoring broker. Now, if that broker sells them the property, or any other broker sells them the property, or even if the buyer finds the property on their own, it doesn't matter. The agent will get paid. It's just a mirror image of an exclusive right to sell. Skip down a couple of paragraphs where it says exclusive agency buyer agency agreement. An exclusive agency buyer agency agreement is a mirror image of an exclusive listing agreement. They only sign up with one sponsoring broker. Now, if that broker finds them a home, or any other broker finds them a home, the buyer would have to pay a commission, but the buyer reserves a right to find a home on their own. They would not have to pay a commission. Let's go to the next paragraph. Open buyer agency agreement. Now, in an open buyer agency agreement, actually put two X's by this one. It shows up a lot more often. Now, this is a mirror image of an open listing agreement. Here's what buyers think sometimes. Well, if I get one agent and they could show me 10 different homes, well, what if I got 10 agents? They show me 10 different homes. That's 100 homes I look at. Better than that. What if I got 100 agents to help me find a home? These show me 10 different homes. That's 1,000 homes. Well, if I look at 1,000 homes, I know I'm going to find the right property. Well, there's a problem with that. We all belong to the same multiple listing service. From the top third of the state of Illinois into southwestern or south Wisconsin or in northwest Indiana, we belong to the same multiple listing service. See, you could get an agent, you can hire 100 agents. The one that runs to the computer the quickest to show you the properties, so that's only going to be a handful of properties. Why? There's only so many properties in the area, in the price range, with the features they're looking at. An agent in Gurnee doesn't have anything different than an agent in Naperville. An agent in Chicago doesn't have anything different than an agent in Franklin Park. An agent in Will County on Homer Glen doesn't have anything different than an agent in St. Charles. We belong to the same multiple listing service. So that's what sometimes buyers think, not the best way of going on this. And I think that will be the end of this chapter. Let me take a look. Buyer agent's duties include, you could go over that on yourself, services provided by buyer broker. Oh, let's do one more. I got another case scenario. Agent Michelle's hosting an open house on one of her listings. A potential buyer, Sue, attends the open house and doesn't have a real estate agent with her. Buyer Sue says, I want to buy this house. The listing agent, Michelle, makes sure that the buyer, Sue, understands that the broker, Michelle, represents the seller, not required to look out for the best interest, and has Sue sign a non-agency disclosure form. Buyer Sue signs a non-agency disclosure form and a purchase agreement to buy the property. There's no inspection by the buyer, and the property closes. Soon after the closing, a structural problem came into Sue's attention. The seller was not aware of any structural issue. So, the answers are A, buyer Sue has a right to go after the broker Michelle to correct this problem, or B, Sue has a right to go after the seller of the property. C, Sue can seek compensation from the seller and broker Michelle, or D, Broker Michelle and the seller have no liability to sue for any repairs. So which do you think it is? The answer is D, as in dog. The broker Michelle had to sign that non-disclosure agency that she's not being represented. She should have gotten her own representation. She didn't. She didn't do the inspection. That's not on the agent or the seller. Okay. So the best answer is D. I think we might have one more. Let me just double check. Yeah, buyer representation agency disclosure. So we've got another one of these case scenarios because you're going to get a few of them on state. Okay, broker Vic was working with a buyer, Sue, and had the buyer sign an exclusive buyer agency agreement. After working with the buyer for a few months, showing the buyer many properties, making sure the buyer was qualified by a lender, broker Vic went out of town for 3 days. While broker Vic was out of town, the buyer Sue visited an open house. Buyer Sue told the listing agent she didn't have an agent representing her. The listing broker had Sue sign a non-agency disclosure form. Boy, this Sue's not a very nice person, it seems like. And when broker Vic returns from out of town, broker Vic told the listing agent, Michelle, that he has an exclusive buyer agency agreement and has been working with Sue for many months. What should broker Vic do? Choices are A, broker Vic should discuss any compensation with the buyer Sue. B, broker Vic is entitled to a co-op commission from broker Michelle. C, broker Michelle has no obligation to offer any compensation from broker Michelle. I don't get that one. Broker Michelle has no obligation to offer any compensation from broker Michelle. Something not quite right there, but and D, broker Vic should refer to buyer representation agreement and file a lawsuit against broker Michelle. So what do you think the answer should be? I think C should be. I'm not saying that's the right answer, but broker Michelle has no obligation to offer any compensation to broker Vic. I think it's what it should be reading. I correct that one. Let's see what you have. The answer is, well, let me look at the answers again. Let's see. I think the best answer is A. Broker Vic should discuss any compensation with buyer Sue. Why? The buyer agency agreement is between broker Vic and buyer Sue. Has nothing to do with anything else. It's between them. Like a listing agreement will be between a sponsoring broker and a seller. Has nothing to do with anybody else. So they can't come after that broker Michelle for any, or the listing office for any of the commission. They cannot. A is the best answer. It was a little mixed up on C, but I will correct that. Now I think we're done. The buying process, you kind of go over that on your own, but you get that training Let me work with your sponsoring broker. Let me see something. Presenting and negotiating the offer. I am on page 288, near the top, up 288. Presenting and negotiating the offer. You highlight, put an X by that. Once an offer has been made, and the buyer has signed a purchase agreement and the disclosures, the buyer should immediately receive a copy of all the documents that are signed. Law says within 24 hours. The real estate agent of the buyer should then promptly submit the signed purchase agreement along with the signed disclosures, pre-approval letter from the lender or proof of funds, and a copy of the earnest money check, if any. This could be done in person or electronically. Then next line by itself. Listing agent must present all offers to purchase or lease as soon as possible. Okay. Oh, I got another case study. Let's do this case study. This is, where am I? Page 289, kind of towards the bottom. One more case study. Okay. Seller Kelly listed her home with broker Tiffany of Patton Realty Company. Broker Tiffany listed Kelly's property at a reasonable price, and the property attracted several offers, including an offer from broker Tiffany's own buyer. Broker Tiffany now has several offers. How should she proceed? A, broker Tiffany should work with her client to offer as a dual agent because she knows the buyer very well, and there'll be no problem with this transaction if Tiffany controls both sides. B, broker Tiffany should just go with the highest price offer. C, broker Tiffany should give all of the offers to the seller and give the seller Kelly a few days to decide which one she wants to accept. Or D, broker Tiffany should review, present, and discuss the terms of each offer and let the seller Kelly decide. So pick out what you think will be the correct answer. So she has more than one offer. One of them is from her own buyer, broker Tiffany's buyer. What do you think she should do? These are kind of things that you should see on the state exam. They started this very recently. Okay, it seems like most of you got this one correct. The answer is D. The broker, Tiffany, has to present all the offers, present and discuss the terms of all the offers, and let the seller decide. Why C is wrong. You don't want the seller to be sitting on these offers for a couple of days. These buyers are hot. And if you give them a couple of days, they're going to go somewhere else. You got to respond quickly. So let her decide as soon as possible. That's the best way of doing this. So let me clear up these. Yep, remember it's the seller's property. They have to decide this. Now I think I'm done, I think.